a while, certainly for me. I know that Rafi, you've made a few appearances since the Eurovision Song Celebration in May. Um, and we're glad to have you back along with Clara and Dominic. Nice to see you guys. Hope
Hi.
you're all doing well. Hope you are all staying safe and trying to enjoy the summer as much as you can, or at least as much as your country will allow you to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're just joining us, we're talking about the Eurovision movie. I had to stop myself from saying song contest because that's just such a habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're about a little bit over a week away from the release of Eurovision: The Story of Fire Saga, I believe it's called, on Netflix, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be an international release, so you should be able to see it almost anywhere in the world. Lots of people already know the rundown. It's starring Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams. They're playing an Icelandic band called Fire Saga that has been selected to represent Iceland in the Eurovision Song Contest. Aside from that, we have Pierce Brosnan, we have Demi Lovato is in it, Dan Stevens, lots of people for a movie that would require lots of people, lots of opinions as well. So certainly, lots to talk about. I think it should probably be said that because Eurovision is so much about the European identity, let's go to the Europeans in the group first to talk about some of their thoughts on the trailer. So I'll start with you, Clara. What are your thoughts going into this Eurovision movie?
My first thought is like, oh, it's fantastic that finally Eurovision gets a movie like that gets featured somewhere, because it's a really big part of the European identity in a way, even if people are not non-Eurovision watchers are very against it. I think it's good that it gets recognized or featured at some point. However, I'm still very curious to see to what light is it portrayed, because it can be really beneficial or not so beneficial and still getting it as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we love it. We are happy to see Eurovision everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It
And a
is what
lot
it is.
And a lot of the things that you mentioned, I've heard other fans say that as well, that they're a little bit concerned about how this could reflect Eurovision overall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to Dominic. How do you feel about that point of view? And also, what are your own feelings going into the movie?
Yeah, so just as Tara said, I'm very happy that Eurovision gets a platform in Netflix, which is like the biggest streaming platform in the whole world. So I can imagine that there may be some viewers get to know Eurovision for the very first time. So maybe it's a chance that Eurovision gets even bigger because of that. However, it's like an American production, or at least most of the actors are from the USA or Canada or something. So I'm not sure if that's appropriate, because in a way Eurovision is a European and Australian thing. So I'm not sure. I think they would have been some alternatives, because Europe has enough actors to cover that up. So I'm not really sure why they picked American actors, for example. It's also a bit strange, at least from the trailer, that Americans try to have an Icelandic accent in English, even though they're natives. So, like straight from the beginning, it was a bit awkward to listen to it. And I'm pretty sure there are Icelandic people who could have done it way better, even though they are not like big names in Hollywood or something. So that's a little letdown for me, to be honest. But overall, I'm excited, and I'm also very happy that at least a few familiar faces are in there, just such as Graham Norton. So I'm very, very happy about that, because that gives me that Eurovision feeling immediately.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about who we've heard that exists in the real Eurovision sphere, who's going to be appearing in the movie. You mentioned Graham Norton already. Rafi, let's go to you. I know that a few days ago you kind of shared your thoughts on the movie, on how you were feeling about the movie and some fears that you had. Some of the same things that Clara and Dominic have mentioned. Is there anything positive, any kind of positive that you think could come from this?
There is. Just the fact that Eurovision is being shared with an international audience. I know the way I discovered Eurovision was on Netflix last year when they aired 2019 on there. So I'm excited that it's broadening the audience for it, as well as within Europe itself, because I know some friends in a couple of different countries that have actually never even heard of Eurovision, and you would think that they'd be more familiar with it. But so I'm excited for that. Uh, uh, Will Ferrell playing the lead character, like I understand why he did the movie. He himself is a big Eurovision fan. He actually had attended one recently. I believe it was Lisbon.
Yes, I saw him there.
But so I'm excited that a person of his recognition is putting out a movie like this, because that'll give it an even bigger audience. But I feel that he shouldn't have been the main character. Like his name could be all on it. He could have played a minor character or had a cameo or something, and really just promoted, like Dominic said, somebody, a European actor or artist, Icelandic, specifically. But I feel that as an American, I have to take everything with a grain of salt right now, and I won't be able to form an actual opinion until after I watch it.
Mm-hmm. And I just touching on some of those things. I think that there is a kind of a history. Well, there's definitely a history of American media mocking European culture in a way that just is kind of ignorant. So I can certainly see why that would be a concern for some people, especially if they're, in addition to that, Eurovision fans, and they don't want to see something that they love and appreciate torn down in that kind of way. One thing that I remember Jess saying, I think a few days ago, was that she feels that Eurovision is serious. And I mean, I know that for myself, I'm usually one of the first people who, when you hear somebody talking about, oh yeah, Eurovision is just one big joke, I'm usually one of the people who says, well, actually, it's been different in the last few years. It's, a lot of eyes are turning that way. But with that said, last year we had a 60-year-old dentist singing a song about thinking that life is beautiful and fine.
Jess is not happy about what you just said.
Maybe not. All my love to Jess, and it isn't to say, like, I do agree with her in that it's not totally a joke, but there is still plenty of humor. And what I want to ask you guys about is what are the kind of things, because we have to accept that this is going to be a comedy. There's going to be some level of mocking. What are the kind of things that you guys would be happy to see made fun of in a playful way? I'll start with you, Dominic.
That's a
I would really appreciate if they do some inside jokes for Eurovision fans. So like Americans or people who are not familiar with Eurovision at all are like, I don't get it. And people like us will be like, oh, I understood it. So that would be nice, just a way to appreciate it a bit, like for the community and stuff. The thing is about being a comedy or something. As we already said, like it's mainly an American production, and so normally they're not really into the community and stuff. So I am not sure if you're outside of the Eurovision bubble, so to say, and you're making jokes about it. It's a thin line between like making fun about something in a appropriate way or in a cool way, or like, okay, we're laughing about it, or just being assaulting or like really making fun of something and making it ridiculous without getting to know this concept at all. Because like putting it in a fun way without even knowing what Eurovision is, like in one movie, like right from the beginning, because normally like, the first impression is the most important one. So every time a new Eurovision viewer is watching this movie for the first time, it's like, okay, it has to be ridiculous. And then if you're really watching the real Eurovision Song Contest, you're always having these impressions in mind. So it's a very thin line. Really depends on the movie.
Clara, you had some thoughts about what kind of things that you would want to see parodied.
Maybe what goes in the green room, or like when the artists have time out, what really happens in the backstage, or when delegations meet delegations and things like that. That would be really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I think we certainly would have that in mind, because we've seen it firsthand. We've seen how that can go down. And
Yeah.
perhaps we've seen when it can just be funny without having to be mocked because it's just things that happen.
Yes.
Rafi, what are some things that you would like to see parodied in this movie?
I agree with Dominic about having kind of like those inside jokes or like just callbacks to previous competitions. But the issue I have with that is, it's almost like if somebody was like making fun of your brother or sister, like you can make jokes about it, but like they can't do it.
Mhm.
And I'm afraid that because, humor is subjective, so I'm afraid that the American style of humor might be lost in translation, and um, it could come across the wrong way. But on the other hand, I think people who wouldn't normally watch a Eurovision competition that are fans of that kind of humor, they'll watch the movie and they like it, and then that'll steer them to actually watch the competition, and then they'll be like, "Oh, this is a legitimate thing, not
Mhm.
something jokingly." So
It's just that we've spent our lives defending the contest, and now this movie comes, and it's like, oh, again, I have to defend Eurovision again. But yeah, no. I think the backstory is what will hopefully the audience just thinks that the mocking part is just the backstory of like the characters and how they relate to each other. It's really cliche that they've made the Russian the bad guy, but Americans. And yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to see like the performances on stage, and if like they're going to respect the rules, like 6 people on stage, it cannot be longer than 3 minutes. Obviously, like they're not going to play like a song for like 0 minute to the 3 minutes because it's a movie, and
Mhm,
they will probably cut it into like 50 seconds or something.
mhm.
But yeah, I'm actually curious, and like I I'm very curious to see like for example, we were talking like Demi Lovato's in the movie. I'm so curious to see what her role will be.
Definitely. There's a lot of things that you said that I want to pick up on, but first I
Yes.
just want to say hello to some people. Hello to Klabs from Latvia. Nice to see you.
Hi, Klabs.
Shukar,
Sveiki or Sveiki, something like that.
Clara was just in Latvia, so I'm
I
sure
was
she was
just in
practicing
Latvia.
her Latvian all over.
Yeah.
Shukar has said Azerbaijan 4 or 5 times. I'm not sure how many times, but nice to see you. Nice to see you, Sarah. No worries about being late. Party pooper. Hi guys. Joanne Johnson says hello. The main man Andy is in the chat. Nice to see you. Of course, Jess. Jess says that after watching the trailer, it looks like the movie is definitely going to be comedic. Good observation. I just hope that it doesn't make fun of the contest in any way. So yeah, we've kind of been talking about that already. Just that we have to expect that there's going to be a level of parody. Just hopefully it's done in a way that isn't too cruel and in a way that isn't too uninformed, coming from an American point of view. But we were talking about inside jokes, and there was one particular prop that we see in the trailer. Did anybody catch it from a very notable Ukrainian performance?
The wheel, the hamster wheel.
The hamster wheel.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry about the light because like the sun is moving, so hopefully it will stay.
Right.
Somewhere.
But yeah, the hamster wheel from the TikTok. I can't remember the name of the artist. Who's the artist?
Maria Jumchuk,
Something.
something like that, from 2014.
So it's cool that there has been some actual referencing of things that have happened, things that have been notable, and the hamster wheel, of course, was one of them. Can you guys think of either those kind of examples, or maybe even personalities that you think would be great for parodying?
Dima Bilan.
Yeah, I was just about to think like because like the Russian is the enemy or the evil one, then maybe just do the 2008 performance, like the winner performance, with like you put everything you can on one stage, and apparently it worked for him. So yeah, because in a way it's silly, but in a way it was like a parody by by itself. Like it's so over the top. Like you have like an ice skater, a violin player, and I don't know, someone almost shirtless and whatever, and it's just like so over the place. And if you would do a parody about that on top, that would be hilarious.
Mhm.
So who knows? But I don't think they will do it.
But there's a moment where like they're hanging on these wires and like Will Ferrell falls. But if we remember in like the 2010 opening, Dima Bilan was like hanging on one of the wires and like he took his coat off and like it got stuck.
That's
So
stuck, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's part of the show, but then like after the fourth attempt, like, okay, no, that wasn't planned.
at least it's not Madonna when she performed and like someone pulled her cloak and like she fell.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
That
you were
was
just going to talk about having Madonna perform at Eurovision whatsoever, because
No.
that needs no parody. Clavs wants to tell Clara, nice pronunciation of Sveki. Is that it?
That's hello, technically. So Prieka, that I also learned.
Sarah, what are you asking, Sarah? Will Stefania be Roger Rabbiting on stage with me? I don't know what that means.
It's probably not the comment you should have picked.
Andy is saying, for the soundtrack, if Demi Lovato could cover one Eurovision entry, which one do you think she should cover? Oh, good question. I have to think of one that would suit her voice.
Euphoria would be too obvious.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody's covered Euphoria. Everyone and their grandmother.
I think Monsters by Sarah Alto, because I feel like their voices are very similar, so I think she would totally rock a cover of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great choice.
Yes, indeed.
How about you, Dominic? What would you like to see Demi Lovato? What big Eurovision song could you see her doing?
I'm just thinking about the winner song about the last years. Maybe I don't know. Maybe if you really try to be, European one and try to impersonate one of them, maybe like Emily the Forest. Why not?
Which one was that?
Only Teardrops.
Oh, Only Teardrops, right. Yeah, that would be, I think...
It's too easy for her.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's too easy for her. She's got such a big voice that you need her doing something that's going to be really pushing the limits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jess wants to let us know that it's been 6 years since Ukraine's performance with the hamster wheel, and I still don't understand it.
Well, it's the time running in circles. The time.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, what's to understand about it, but then Clara got it for me. I think I still need to watch that performance in full. Stephen Kendall is asking, do we know which city the contest in the movie is supposed to be in? Good question. Has anybody heard anything about that?
I'm looking it up now, and it doesn't say where it's supposed to be.
My guess would be somewhere in UK, because I've seen some signs like these red telephone boxes, I think, and also Graham Norton is the commentator, so that would make sense.
Oh yes, absolutely. That's a great point.
Yeah. So also because like American, and then everything is in English already, so that would make sense. Because otherwise, it would be like a more effort to put in if you have something in different languages,
So I see they've gone for total fantasy here by hosting it in the UK. Moving on. Anyway, Sarah Halloran is suggesting that Demi should sing Diva from Israel 1998. That's a good one. I can see her doing that. I think she'd probably have to practice the Hebrew that's in that. Another good suggestion from Jess. She's saying, see her sing City Lights by Blanche.
Mall. Oh, what Andy's saying, Mall. I think she has like the range, like she has really like the voice range for that.
I think one thing that Andy would probably die to see would be a duet, to have her with Eugen Bushpepa singing Mall. And I think that would be a really beautiful song to do a duet with, because it's a song about longing, right? It's a big love song. And since we're talking about songs, we haven't yet talked about Volcano Man, which is the song at the center of this movie, which not only was it released on YouTube, it's only 1.5 minutes. It's not 3 minutes like a regular Eurovision song. However, there have been a lot of covers of it too, from notable Eurovision artists. We saw Daddy Freyer, we saw Jamala, we saw Elena Nechayeva. I always need to be reminded how to say her name. Thoughts on the song, Rafi? How do you feel about Volcano Man?
It is.
Go
I
ahead.
actually just listened to it before this to refresh myself.
Mm.
I believe that it could be something similar to what would be used in like a national final. And in the trailer, they, weren't the original winners to be chosen to go to Eurovision. They were kind of just chosen because they were the last option, I guess. So it's all right. It's very Will Ferrell-ish, honestly. Yeah.
Fair enough. Dominic, your thoughts on this song?
It's very trashy, so I think they really wanted to go to this lane, like the trashy Eurovision, whatever, every cliche you can imagine, like tick all the boxes and stuff. With all respect, and yeah, it reminded me a tiny little bit of Kano.
Yes.
Okay, so everybody thought that, and I was just saying it. Okay, so like Kano is way better, obviously, but I get like a vibe of it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Especially with like the chanting in the background on top of the vocals. Yeah, it's
and
very
Paul
similar
voice
to
also
Kano.
like being very high, and then his voice very low. So yeah.
You know what it reminds me to? Blue Jeans and Bloody Tears.
Yeah. Have you heard that, Rafi?
No, I haven't.
It's a Eurovision song that was written by a bot. They had them observe like
Oh, I love those
thousands of
things. Oh,
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
have to look it up.
It's very
It's really catchy, really, really catchy.
very
Okay.
catchy.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yes to both of the things that you guys said, because that was the first thing that I thought of as well, Dominic. I definitely thought of Kaino because I mean, aside from the fact that it's Scandinavian dance pop, they really put up an aspect of culture in front of it. I'm still remembering that it is supposed to be parody. It's not supposed to be taken super seriously. But yeah, and that in itself is making me think about some of the doubts that people have about whether or not it's appropriate. Because yes, there is the cultural element of it, whether or not it should be an American production that's doing this kind of parody. But it seems that there's still lots to make humor of when it comes to Eurovision. Clara, what did you think when you saw Volcano Man?
It sounded like a song from Eurovision in the 80s, and it would have been a hit, I think, at that time, or especially in the early 90s. I don't dislike it as a Eurovision song. I just don't think it's like an actual Eurovision song. It's more like they went through the whole history of Eurovision and they decided like, oh, like this is what they've been doing for ages. Like this is like the trashy schlager we're used to. Let's go for it. And I mean, it's a good idea considering this is what Eurovision has been bringing, and this is what people that used to watch Eurovision and they don't watch it anymore, they have in their mind of what Eurovision is. So yeah, it's we will hear it in Euroclub, I'm sure. It's going down in Eurovision history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as we mentioned, there's been lots of covers as well from actual Eurovision artists. So it seems that it's gonna have its moment. It might not last. It might not have the same life as Euphoria, but it's definitely gonna have a moment.
Really?
Stephen Kendall is saying, I think if the focus is on Iceland, the Iceland act, but the movie is filmed in Edinburgh. Oh yeah, so that would stand somewhere in Europe. See,
and in Tel Aviv, you said.
Yes, right, because they use the Tel Aviv stage. And I think that Edinburgh is also a city that you could probably dress up like other European cities. So it could open up the opportunity. Maybe they chose it for that reason, so that they could choose a different city if need be. I saw something else here. Jess likes Volcano Man. Joanne Johnson is looking forward to the movie. Good to know. Hello to England, Portugal 91. I know we've asked the question before, but where are you right now? Are you in England or are you in Portugal? And Andy is asking, or sorry, Sarah is asking, would we be okay with infrared filters? Infrared filters.
She's talking about her movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you making your own Eurovision movie, Sarah?
With Stefania, she
With
said.
Stefania? Okay, cool.
And Jess and Andy.
And Jess and
Ooh.
Andy. Oh, see, that was another thing that I wanted to say. I really hope that there are parodies of Eurovision vloggers. You know? Come on.
You want to be parodied?
Whether it's me or anyone in this room or anyone else,
Yeah.
I think that there is just so much. Like, I want to see somebody ranting at their screen for something that's very, very specific about the song, and then they hate it. You know, it's just my 2 cents. I think that there could be lots of opportunities with this movie. But yeah, so it's coming out next Friday.
Yes.
As we said, it should be an international release. Any final words? Any things? Because normally when it would come to Eurovision, some people would have viewing parties and they would be doing like drinking games and that kind of stuff. Do you guys have any ideas for how you want to watch the movie, Clara?
With wine, a lot of wine.
Rafi?
I'll probably be watching it alone because my husband does not like Will Ferrell, so he
fair enough.
will not watch the movie with me.
Does he hate him that much? Like,
He doesn't find him funny. So he thinks I don't want to say, but he doesn't like his movies.
Well, his comedy is not for everyone. I think that's clear.
Right.
And he's made many movies. I will say that there have been a few that I've enjoyed. It's been a while since I've seen one, but
Elf.
I liked Elf, I liked Anchorman, and I liked the other guys.
What about Step Brothers?
I didn't see Step Brothers. Is that a good one?
I love Step Brothers. See, I used to be a really big Will Ferrell fan when I was like in my early 20s and stuff. And I feel that like it's hard to say which aspect of his humor he's going to really bring into it, because he's done so many different types of comedies. Like he did a Sherlock Holmes one, and so just the different aspects of it.
No, it's yet to be seen what it's going to be like. I
Yeah.
mean, we can only go off of the trailer. Dominic, is it you who you're kind of famous for your Eurovision parties for the actual show?
Yay!
sounds really enthusiastic.
So as much as there still has to be restrictions because of the pandemic, do you have any ideas for how you would want to watch the movie? Would you try and do something like that, perhaps digitally?
Well, honestly, no. Because like these parties are very special and once in a year thing, but only for the real contest. So I wouldn't really put a lot of effort for a movie. So I would just enjoy it by myself.
Fair enough. So I think that's going to wrap it up for now. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. We'll see what the movie looks like. And yeah, so anyone who's been with us in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to Eurovox. It's somewhere down there. Do little T-Rex hands, T-Rex playing the piano.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Press
do all
the bell to
things.
get notifications.
Follow us
Perfect.
on Facebook, Instagram, watch our Insta
Twitter.
stories,
Yes,
Twitter.
all the digital things that we do, follow them. And we'll leave it there.
Or not.
Or not. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. But anyway, we'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.